I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. I really love to watch them roll. No longer riding on the merry-go-round. I just had to let it go. Welcome to Off the Grid with Skantar. Today we'd like to talk about temperature and pressure and their relationship. In refrigeration and diesel engines, they use the direct proportional relationship of temperature and pressure to do things. They do away with the spark plug in the diesel motor. So when the pressure gets high enough, it reaches the flash point, and without a spark plug, it fires the diesel. And it has to be warm enough. The engine block has to either be glowed with glow plugs to warm it up or a block heater to keep it warm enough. Because if it freezes, the flash point with the high pressure is not enough to flash it. And then people would sometimes put some starting fluid in, much lower flash point, and it would get it started and consequently warmed up. Now that's the high pressure side. Now what you could do with some low pressure, so if you have something at a high pressure over here and then you have a much thinner tube, what they do is called a capillary tube. It's like a long piece of wire, but it's hollowed out, so that's soldered right on there and it's coiled up like very long, and it comes out right there. Now what happens, this is high pressure here right out of this compressor, so you have this freaking compressor sitting here compressing and pushing this out, and this is a high pressure here, and it's going through here at a very high pressure, but over here is a little freaking nozzle. So then when it comes out of the nozzle, it just sprays everywhere, and it's collected in a much bigger tube and brought back in, and that's the evaporator. And that's just like if you're holding a spray can and you're spraying it and the can's getting cold. So why I'm bringing this all up, see, this evaporator has to bring this back to the compressor over here. Now what happens, this is why when they say wait 3 minutes before restarting. So you fire your compressor up, and this is super high pressure here, so maybe you have 200 pounds pressure here, and where it's spraying out you have 20 pounds pressure. So 20 pounds pressure on this side and 200 pounds on this side, and now you shut it off. Okay, shut it off. And then 1001, 1002, oh, plug it back in. So you plug it back in, now what are you trying to do? This little compressor is trying to push against 200 pounds of pressure. Now it might have lost a pound or two, but it hasn't had time to equalize. Now when you start this out, if you let it sit all day, you'd have maybe 75 pound of pressure on both sides of the system, and this little motor and this little compressor will fire up. But when you get all this head pressure and you pull the plug and you wait a bit and you plug it back in, now maybe the power company will do that to you if there's a momentary outage and it comes on, if your compressor's running, you know. And I suggest you become aware of when things are running. We had to shut the GoPro fan off because the generator was generating, and we shut that off, and you could hear the generator shut the door. And then, you know, you could hear if your compressor's running in your fridge, and be aware of your surroundings, and then you won't have as much trouble. Let's see what we can make of this. That'll do. Let's have a look here. Tell a story or two about being sent for factory training different times. When I went to the Kohler training, it was very hot, and they had a rental generator and a rental air conditioning unit set up in the classroom. And it was not working, and it was the same problem I was saying. They kept trying to restart it and restart it. And I had been trained by the Taylor Freezer companies in my previous job to know that. So I got up and boldly went to the instructor and said, look, all you got to do is let it, shut it off and let it sit for 5 minutes and turn it back on. It'll work. And, they shut it off. It was the longest 5 minutes in the world. People were sweating bullets. And, they say 3 minutes. I say 5. And it was 5, and fired it right up and it worked perfectly. And it was great. Either that or they would have shot me and I wouldn't be here. And then one other time when I was sent to the factory very close by, it was in Rockton, Illinois, close to Kohler, Wisconsin. The two states, we used to walk from one state to the other, in our hotel room in different factory motels. But what happened here, we're sitting there getting our pictures taken for our badges, and the girl couldn't get the thing to work. Like there was somebody getting her picture taken and thing, and she's messing with it. And I went up and said, hey, what's going on? She said, oh, this thing's not working. I said, well, you're sitting in a room full of technicians. And literally she turned it over to me, and I opened it up, and there was a simple spade connector off the little push button, fire button thing, and we were back in business. So my motto, never let a machine beat you, and number two, I believe in the dignity of work. There's no shame in it. We'll see you for the season finale on Off the Grid with Skantar next time.
Beautiful creature, huh?